We are in Genesis chapter 30.
Genesis chapter 32.
37.
I mean
So we are
37.
we are in Genesis chapter 37, and we talked about the dreams of Joseph, right? How Joseph was the preferred child, and how Jacob treated him separately. He was the favorite child of Jacob, and how Jacob had brought him a colored robe. We saw how Jacob got a color. Jacob bought a colored robe for Joseph, and then how Joseph, had given him a couple of dreams that he shared with his brothers, and they were all resenting him. Right? How did the brothers feel when Jacob did preferred
Angry
Joseph to
and
the other
jealous.
brothers?
Angry
Angry,
and jealous.
angry and jealous. They felt angry and jealous. They did not like it. Was there any time that one of you had felt that way? Somebody had gotten preferential treatment and you felt that way. Was there a time? Did you ever experience that situation where somebody was more preferred than you, and you felt left out, you felt neglected? Has that happened to you? Did any one of you experience that situation?
I did.
You did. So can you explain a little bit, Isaac? Well, how was your experience, or what was your feeling at that point of time?
So like in the starting of school, I didn't really have friends. This was in second grade, so I was just like that. And whenever a guy like got the ball out, I'd just kick it back to them, and I'd just be looking and standing there watching. I couldn't play anything, so I felt kind of like left out. So I didn't know who to play with, and I didn't even have anybody to play with.
Yeah. So how did you feel at that point of time?
Kind of like sad because I can't really play. But
Yeah.
soon after that, I got in with the game, and
Okay, good. So, yeah, there are times when we go through these situations, right? When we feel lonely, when we feel neglected, when we feel as if people don't care about us. And such feelings do happen because of based on the situation. Such feelings happen. It happened to the brothers, it happens to us also. So, but how can we overcome those feelings? How can we overcome those feelings? Try to think about the situation, right? What was the situation? Why were they preferred more than me? Or what is it that is why? For example, in the Joseph story, the brothers felt resentment, they felt angry, they didn't like Joseph being preferred. They didn't like Joseph getting that coat. And also, they didn't like the dreams that Joseph had. They kind of built this hatred because of different situations. But what could they have done differently?
went and complained to their father, "Why are you blessing the son and not us?"
Yeah, they could have asked about it. They could have gone and asked the dad about it, father about it. Why Joseph is the preferred son? They could have asked him. That's one way of solving a problem, right? When you face something, you can always go and ask and try to control or your feelings. You could always try to go and talk to them and try to find out why that situation has happened. That's one way. Good job. What else can we do?
We could pray and ask God to take away that feeling.
We could pray and ask God to take away that feeling, right? Take away the situation, change the situation. We could always pray and ask God to change the situation. Here, let's see at the brothers. See, they've seen these situations, and what happened? They felt probably resentment. They felt they didn't like it. The first thing, it started off with them not liking how their father cared for Jacob, how he took care of Jacob, how he preferred Jacob over the other sons, and how he brought him a gift. So we don't understand exactly from the account written in the Bible what the situations might have been, why Jacob preferred Joseph. But what I can understand from it is probably he was behaving in a right manner than the other sons, and so he must have gotten that coat as a gift because of his good behavior. We do not know the reason because it's not given, but that has caused resentment in the brothers. And now that resentment, that feeling of left out has led them to be angry. See, one feeling, one emotion changes to other. They didn't like it first. They resented it. Because they didn't like it, they kind of stopped thinking about why they didn't like or what is it. They didn't want it. So they resented it. They didn't want it happening. And then they became angry. See, over the one situation after the other situation, what happened? It led them to be angry. And in their anger, what did they want to do? Let's go and see the story. Okay, let me share my screen. So we stopped at after the dreams. And so after a few days, the brothers were taking care of the sheep in Shechem. So actually we talked about how Jacob moved southward from Shechem. He moved southward towards Bethel, and then he settled down in Bethel, right? He settled down in Bethel. But now the brothers, what did they do? They took the sheep and they traveled north to Shechem to find the pastures to graze their father's flocks. So Joseph remained at home with his father in the valley of Hebron, or near Bethel. He remained with his father. And after a few days, the father called Joseph and he said, see, your brothers have gone, okay, with the flocks. So go back, go and see. What does this show about Jacob? When he's sending his son to look for the brothers, what does that show about Jacob?
He loves the other sons too.
He loves the other sons too, right? It's not as if he did not care about them. He loved them also. But probably it could have been Joseph's behavior, because when we look at the life of Joseph at a later date, we understand Joseph was doing the right thing all the time. Joseph was doing the right thing all the time. The brothers did many wrong things. Their attitude, their behavior was not so good. So that's the reason probably the father was trying to discipline them and they didn't like it. And they didn't like Joseph being good also. Probably they didn't like the behavior, Joseph doing the right thing all the time. So now Jacob sends Joseph. He says, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring back a word to me. Go and see how they are doing, what they are doing, and bring back a word to me. It doesn't look as if he is sending him to spy on them, but it's out of genuine concern how they are, what they are doing. So he kind of gives him some food and sends him. And then, so when Joseph traveled from Hebron, from Bethel in Hebron, they were living in Hebron. And so he traveled, he went up to Shechem. So he goes up to Shechem, and then when he goes there, he does not find his brothers there. So he asks the person, have you seen my brothers? My brothers have come here with their flock grazing. So have you seen anyone? So the person the man answered, yes, they have moved further north. They have moved further north to Dotham. I saw them going towards Dothan. So Joseph immediately started on his way to Dothan. Okay. And as he went, we know the story, right? What happened when the brothers saw Joseph coming from far? What did they decide? What did they think?
To kill him.
Yeah. So the brothers were grazing their flocks, and then when they see Joseph coming from far, they started planning to kill him. So they were so angry that they were like, okay, let us catch hold of him, kill him, and let's see what will happen to his dreams. So they were so angry, they were resenting him, so they wanted him killed. But do you think God would let that happen? If God had given Joseph the dreams and said that Joseph is going to be a ruler and all the brothers are going to fall down to him or bow down to him, do you think God would let anything else happen to Joseph without that promise, without that vision being fulfilled?
No.
No, right? Yeah, but the brothers didn't think about it. They didn't even think about probably the visions could be from God. They didn't even think about that it was God showing his will towards Joseph. They didn't think about all these things. They were just angry because he was showing off as a teenager. He must have been bragging about his coat and bragging about the dreams that he had, and he must be dreaming of the day he would become a ruler. So these brothers didn't like it. So what happened? They didn't like it. It led to resentment, it led to anger, and that anger is leading them to a plan where they will kill. They wanted to kill him. They wanted to kill him. And then they said, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can say that a ferocious animal has eaten him. Then we'll come, let's see what will happen to his dreams. So they were plotting. And then Reuben hears that. And Reuben hears that, and Reuben says, no, no, no. He didn't want his brother killed. Reuben didn't want. And he kind of tries to pacify his brothers. And also at the back of his mind, he was planning to save Joseph. He was also planning to save Joseph. So he said, see, don't kill him. Why do you want to kill him? Let's not take his life. Killing is not an option. Why do we have to do it? Why do we have to shed blood? There's a well there. There's a well there without water. Let's put him in that well, but we will not kill him. So what did they do? They caught hold of him. He thought that if once they put him in there, he can rescue them back, rescue Joseph and take him back to his father. So that was the plan Reuben had. But the brothers, they caught hold of him. They took out the robe from him and they put him in the cistern. In a well, it's a small well. And without water, there was no water in that well, and he was put into that well. And then the brothers sat down to eat. Joseph had brought some food from home. So they all sat down to eat. And then we know what happens. What happens then? Next. as they sit down to eat, they see some Ishmaelites coming from Midian. They see the traders coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices and everything, and they said, okay, okay, we are not going to kill Joseph, but we will send him. We will sell him away. We will get some money. We will get some spices. We will say we can get those spices. We can take some money. So what did they do? He was sold for how many shekels? Do you know? 20 shekels of silver. He was sold to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And probably, what do you think Joseph must have done when they put him in the cistern and when he was being sold? What do you think Joseph must have said? Do you think Joseph was quiet? How do you think Joseph must have reacted to this?
He was screaming, saying, "Stop and help me." Maybe.
Probably he must have been pleading to them, don't sell me away, don't, probably he must have said, don't do this. He must have pleaded for help. He must have said, don't sell me, don't send me away. We don't know what Joseph had said, but they sold him and they sent him. And these Ishmaelites were going towards Egypt. They were going towards Egypt, and it was a long journey. So from Dothan, they were going all the way to Egypt. They were going all the way to Egypt. So he was sold to the Ishmaelites going towards. And then from there, the second thing, they sold him. They wanted to kill him. They didn't kill him, but they sold him. And then that was another wrong thing that they did. And then when at that time they sold, Reuben was not there. Reuben must have been taking care of the sheep, or he was. And when he came back and he couldn't see the Joseph, he was worried. He was like, what did you guys do with, did you kill him? And they said, no, he was sold. So now what they had to do, they had to go back and tell Jacob about Joseph. So they took the rope, they killed a goat, they put the goat's blood on the rope, they took it to Jacob, and they told a lie. They told a lie. They told a lie. They said he is dead. Probably a ferocious animal must have eaten. Do you think Jacob simply believed in that story? What do you think?
Was he like, are you sure? Because he went out to the brothers and he probably knew that the brothers hated him, so he might have not just.
Yeah, he might not. He might have asked many questions, right? Our parents ask you if something when something happens, when you fall down or something, any incident happens, our parents ask us many questions, right? They simply don't take the answer, whatever story we tell, they don't simply accept it. They want to come out, they want to get the truth out of us. So they keep asking many questions. Probably Jacob also asked many questions. But the only evidence that he had was the robe with blood on it. And there was no way he could know which animal's blood was it. So he just had a robe with blood. So he had no idea what kind of an animal blood was on it. So he kind of believes their story and he mourns. He tears his clothes down and he starts mourning for Jacob. He starts mourning for Jacob. And meanwhile, he was very sad for his son. Probably in his mind, he must have been thinking of all the dreams and what Joseph had done. He must have been very sad. So the brothers try to console him. The brothers try to see in 37, chapter 37, verse 34, 35, it says, all his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. So the sons, the daughter-in-laws, the grandchildren, they must have come and tried to comfort him. But he continued to mourn, and he said, I will until I join my son in the grave. So he was so sad. He was like, till I die, I will be mourning for my son. So that made Jacob very sad. And then from there, Joseph is taken by the Ishmaelites to Egypt, and there he was sold to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, who was the captain of the guard. So Joseph was sold. The Ishmaelites bought them from the brothers, and they went and sold him to Potiphar, who was one of the Pharaoh's officials. So we will stop right there. See, some things that when the brothers didn't like something, they didn't like the preferential treatment given to the brother, it changed their attitude towards their brother, right? It changed their attitude towards brother. They did not like it, and it changed into anger. It changed into jealousy, and jealousy and anger made them, they wanted him to be killed. They thought of killing him. They thought of killing him. See, our attitudes, our feelings can take us into a greater sin. So we have to be very careful about how we feel and how we think. Their negative feelings against or their hatred towards their brother led them to a point where they wanted to kill him. They wanted to get rid of him. They wanted to get rid of him. And see how many mistakes they kept making from one feeling, one attitude, because of their emotion, that they said, no, we hate him, we don't like him, so we will hate him. Because we hate him, we are angry at him. Anger, we are jealous because he has everything. So they wanted him to get rid of him. They wanted to get rid of him. One sin led them to another sin. And then they got rid of him, and they went and lied to their father. See how many sins they committed, one after the other, how many sins they committed. They knew that they were doing wrong. They may not have the law at that point of time. They didn't have the law, but they still knew that what they did was wrong. They knew what was right, what was wrong. And they still did the wrong thing. They were doing the wrong things all along. That's what happens. So when there are situations that happen when you don't like something, we have to check our feelings. We have to check our feelings. If there's a situation where you don't like something, where it's not going according to what you have thought, sometimes we also feel angry. We feel jealous of certain things. When you have such feelings, what's the best way to get rid of it? When you have such negative feelings, when you have these negative emotions of anger and jealousy, how can you get rid of it? How can you get rid of it? See, there will be situations, right? all of us face these situations. All of us have these situations where we are angry at someone, where we don't like certain things, where we are frustrated, where when we are jealous of some things. All these things happen to us, just like the brothers. But what they did, in that anger, they continued to sin. They continued to sin. Bible says, in your anger, in your anger, do not sin. Do not sin. Yes, we might be angry, but that anger should not lead us to sin. So we have to be very careful how we behave, about our emotions, about our thoughts and attitude. How is our attitude? There might be somebody who's doing the right thing and you are doing the wrong thing, but you don't like that person who's doing the right thing. And you are jealous of that person. How is he able to do everything right? Okay, next time I want to be the first one. So let me try it the wrong way. That should not be our attitude. We should not try to do things the wrong way. When you have such feelings, when you are in such a situation, we need to remember that it's only God who can help us get rid of these negative dealings. Anything negative comes from Satan. Anything that leads us to sin comes from Satan. So we should be able to say no to any wrong thing. We should be able to say strong. As God's children, every day you're learning the word of God. So you should be able to say no to any wrong ideas that come into your mind because of your emotions, because of the situation. They might be, you might have already faced, or you might face such situations where you might be angry at your brothers and sisters, or you might be angry at your friends. You might feel jealous about your friends who always get the first rank or always get the first grade. They get 100 out of 100, or somebody who wins the match all the time, a game all the time. You might feel jealous of that person. But that feelings, you should not let them continue. When you have such feelings, when you have anger, if you have any anger issues, if you have any feeling of jealousy, especially these days, earlier in the olden days, there were families with like 7 children, 8 children, 9 children. So the children, all of them shared, and not much, probably there might have been feelings, but they don't act upon those feelings. But now, especially in all the families, there are 2 children or 3 children, and all of them are given equal importance. Everybody is given equal importance. But so we are growing up thinking how do I put this? Thinking that we are special. Nobody can say anything to us. We can do everything and anything because our parents give us the best things for us. We have everything that we need. So we can't take no for an answer. We don't take no for an answer. If we want something, we want it. If we are not able to win the game, we start crying. We want to win the game all the time. When we play a board game, we want to win the game all the time. We can't take failure. So we have to be very careful of those feelings. Very careful of what we are thinking, because our thoughts and our attitude determines what actions we do. their thoughts, the brothers' thoughts and actions led them to doing a wrong thing. They didn't even think about twice before deceiving their father, how their father might feel, what is the agony he might undergo. They didn't even think about these things. They simply went ahead and sold their brother to the Ishmaelites. So we have to be very careful with our feelings, okay? So always remember, we need God's grace to get rid of these negative emotions that we have. When we do something wrong, when we have these wrong feelings, it's only God's grace that can help us. So just pray about it. When you're angry, instead of yelling at another person, just stop. When you're angry, just stop for a minute and say, Lord, I'm angry. Let me not sin. Help me. And everything will change right at that point of time. Everything will change. So anytime you have such feelings, remember the wrong that Joseph's brothers have done and stop. Whenever you have these feelings of jealousy, or when you have this feeling of I'm the greatest and I should win, or nobody can win, nobody can get the first rank, I should get the first rank. Yes, it's good to get the first rank. Work hard. Don't try to manipulate and get a first rank. Work hard, study hard, earn it. Okay, that's a good way. That's a good way to get good. Sometimes if somebody else wins it and you don't get a chance, it's okay. You can go ahead and work hard the next time. Instead of having negative feelings towards the person who got the first rank, you can start working hard and try to get it next time. That's a better way of dealing with such emotions. But one thing we can remember, our God is a God who is gracious, and he gives us grace to get rid of all the wrong feelings we have. The brothers didn't get rid of it. They learned their lesson very late in their life. But we as God's children can understand that it's only God who has appeared that offers salvation to all people. He's the only one who can help us. He's the only one who can help us. So what we have to do is, it teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age. It's only the grace of God can help us stand strong, say no to anything wrong, because the negative feelings, the attitude, our feelings, our emotions, if they are asking you to do something wrong, you need to stop and think before taking that step, because these negative feelings will always lead you to sin, So we have to be very careful and make sure that you don't sin because of these wrong feelings, because it's the grace of God that has appeared that offers salvation to all people. Whatever wrong we do, it's God that gives us salvation. It is He who helps us not to make those wrong decisions. It is He who can help us. He teaches us to say no to any wrong thing. He helps us say no to any wrong thing. Okay, so may God help you to whenever you have to face such a situation. If I'm sure all of us will face such situations one time or the other, and I pray and hope that God will help you make the right decision, and that you will get out of that situation without sinning or doing anything wrong. Titus 2, 11 to 12 is your memory verse for tomorrow. Go ahead and write that down. Titus chapter 2, verse 11 and 12 is your memory verse for tomorrow. Okay, and let's go to the memory verse from yesterday. Daniel and Samuel, you want to go ahead and say your memory verse from yesterday? Did you learn it?
Yes.
Go ahead, say it.
Galatians 5:25.
Mhm.
Okay, Auntie. Let us live, since we live by the Spirit, help us to keep in touch with the Spirit. Let us not be conceited. Help us to provoke and envy each other.
Very good, Daniel. Samuel?
Okay, Auntie. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us Galatians 4:25.
Mhm. Let us not.
Let us not